the planet Earth.
Some call me nature.
I am very passionate about the planet
Earth.
A living, breathing planet capable of sustaining whatever life forms we see fit to deposit on it.
Spock, judging by the pollution content of the atmosphere, I believe we have arrived.
It's the planet stupid.
No. It's the planet stupid.
Yes, our guide for It's the Planet Stupid is Belinda Waymouth on Wednesdays now. Welcome, Belinda.
Hi there. How are you?
It doesn't matter what day we come to you. We always come to you a little bit late.
What? Yes, you do.
I am very sorry, and I know that you suffer through it beautifully, but I promise you that we're going to be more punctual in the days to come.
Well, you want to get to all the news, Mark. You want to hear the good stuff as well as the scary stuff. We had
a guest. Well, we moved Belinda. I'll spend 30 seconds on this because it is sort of, again, we live out loud on this show with all the problems and challenges or whatever. But we deliberately moved Belinda to Wednesday so that you wouldn't be up against David Katz on Thursday, which does tend to run long or start late, and then it makes it long. Mm-hmm. So we move you to Wednesday, and then the first Wednesday we do it, we have this author of this best-selling book, and we get into a conversation. Then we have Kim's News, and before you know it, we're running late again. So it's our first outing on a Wednesday. I promise you I will be much better in the days ahead.
Okay.
That's our full explanation. So what are we into today? First of all, I saw that Arctic story just broke my heart.
Yeah. Oh, it's so awful for the polar
Arctic
bears.
ice.
They need that ice, and it's crazy because what they talk about, with the Arctic being ice-free, that's down to 386,000 square miles of ice. Anything less than that is considered ice-free. But here's the thing, the Arctic is heating up 4 times faster than anywhere else on the planet. And we've talked about this before. What happens is ice has got this really high albedo because it's white. And a high albedo means it bounces back all the heat and the light coming from the sun. You melt that white ice, what do you get? You get dark blue water. And what does a dark color do? It has super low albedo. It absolutely very quickly absorbs heat. And so then you've got this, self-fulfilling, prophecy of heating. It's, you're in this radical loop of, it's heating up faster. And the new predictions, the research that came out on Tuesday said, look, this is going to happen in the next 10 years. It's going to either happen during the 2020s or the 2030s that we're going to see these periods of an ice-free Arctic. And just so you get the Arctic ice, did cover an area as big as the 48, lower United States. And since observation began with satellites 45 years ago, the land area or the surface area of the ice has decreased 40% and the thickness of the ice by 50. So that's a huge amount of ice that we're losing. And, Kim and I talked about this when you were away in January, Mark. We were talking about the AMOC, the Atlantic, currents and how important they are. They keep Western Europe warm and they bring the water that Western Europe and Africa needs to grow crops. They're talking about this melting of the ice and what it will do for fires on the west coast of the United States. Everything is related. And then, not to mention what's going to happen to polar bears. They need ice for hunting. And when that ice goes and they have less area, they starve. And we're already seeing that. So, and the awful thing is, if we could keep the heating to within the 1.5 degrees Celsius, which we have been told repeatedly over and over again is the safety zone, is the Goldilocks, the perfect spot, we've already surpassed that. I mean, the European Union's Copernicus Climate Change Service, they estimate that we're at 1.66 degrees Celsius higher than pre-industrial temperatures. So we're not doing a good job, and it's frustrating because, you and I know what we need to be doing, as do lots of our listeners. So you
touch on this so well with all of the different elements and all the different connected aspects of this. It's no longer a remote possibility that might happen at some point, said Alexandra Yan, the study's lead author an associate professor of atmospheric and oceanic sciences at the University of Colorado Boulder. Unfortunately, she says, it's basically occurring under all the emission scenarios in our climate model. So it seems, this is what Belinda's saying right now, it seems like it's going to happen. So we need to be ready for that. By mid-century, 2035 to 2067, the Arctic could see consistent ice-free conditions in September, the month when sea ice concentrations are typically at their minimum. The precise timing of these losses depends on how soon humanity is able to reduce fossil fuel emissions that are contributing to global warming. But, and this is the point, under a high emission scenario in which fossil fuel use continues unabated, the Arctic would be ice-free between the months of May and January by 2100. But this is the truly intense finish. Even under a low emission scenario, this is kind of what you're hinting at, we're past the threshold. Even under a low emission scenario, the Arctic would still be ice-free between August and October on that same year.
Yeah. It's not an if, it's a when now. We've been talking about it for so long. And the awful thing is also you've got all these fossil fuel companies and other industries who are sort of rubbing their hands in glee because all these, this ocean will be ice-free and will be easier for them to either try to get up there and do, deep sea drilling, which, it's not a good idea in the Arctic Ocean. But of course, there are resources out there and people want to mine, they want to drill, they want to, have their big ships, being able to
even in the crisis, there's opportunity for those who are opportunists. The Angel in the Bay Area of the $10 super chat saying, thanks, Belinda, for adjusting to Mark Thompson time. Any stats or updates on penguin populations? And all these wildlife populations are affected by this, I would imagine.
Yeah. Well, we just had a listener ask about the Antarctic, and the Antarctic is melting too. That is happening, and these big ice sheets which hold the glaciers, onto the Antarctic continent, they are melting too quickly as well. And once the ice sheets go, they're like the corks that hold the glaciers on land. And once they go, then the glaciers will be able to melt into the ocean. So. It's
all related. Yeah. I mean, it's all, as you say, it's all related.
Yeah.
The thing that you mentioned as an element in the, as an adoptable element in heating, these heat pumps.
Oh, yeah. These heat pumps are so unbelievable.
They're the penguins, by the way. Sorry to digress, but go ahead.
Those are the penguins. They're very cute. They're very cute. But let's get on to something that if we did, if the whole of, every single family unit in the US got a heat pump, which does heating and cooling, and it's a magic trick. I'll explain it in a tick. But if everybody in the state said, okay, we're going to have a heat pump, that would be the equivalent of taking 32 million cars off the road. So they are seriously important. And here's the great thing, is in the last 2 years, more heat pumps than oil furnaces have been bought and installed. And what's happening right now in Maine, where winter temperatures, they say it's so cold, the sub-zero temperatures in January that Mainers have to live through are painful. It's so cold it hurts. Well, there's an amazing thing happening in Maine. So they used to have so there's a heat pump. So half of the heating there used to be from oil furnaces, and now they are adapting and changing to heat pumps 3 times faster than anywhere else in the US. So this is amazing. Now, what a heat pump does is it's, look at it. It doesn't look that big and fancy, but it's kind of a magic trick. And what's incredible is for every 1 unit of energy that's used by that, it creates 3 to 4 units of heat. So a heat pump is able to take warmth out of even cold air outside. It puts it through a compressor, and then it pumps it into the house. And what Mainers are saying, what they love about this thing, is the heat is distributed evenly all throughout the house. So when they set it to 66 degrees Fahrenheit, the whole house gets to 66. That doesn't happen with an old oil furnace. The thing that Mainers are also up against is they don't have infrastructure piping in fuel, all over the state, because the fossil fuel companies said, no, that's too expensive. We'll just truck it in when they need it. And what happened was 10 years ago, they had a Republican governor, I think his surname was LePage, and he put heat pumps into 2 of his residences. And he was so into them, he became a proponent of them. And then when churches also used a heat pump to, heat up a church, the whole congregation went, wow, these heat pumps are really good. They're super efficient. And so word of mouth has been the big thing in Maine. And you've got word of mouth, you've got state and federal rebates, you've got all these vendors and installers who are sort of waiting to do it. You do have all these, old school, oil furnace, proponents and companies saying, no, you have to have both. But what people are finding is you put in a heat pump, it's way more efficient. You don't have to call for expensive oil because also the price of oil has gone up. When your tank is running low, you don't have to dig away the snow so that the oil guys can, refill your tank. You just sit inside with this lovely heat pump that's giving you glorious heat. And then in the summer, it does the same thing. It sucks the hot air out of the house and swaps it for cooler air outside, also putting it through the compression and pumping in this cooler air. So they're really, it's kind of a no-brainer. The heat pump, it's a no-brainer.
It's wild. And it only takes, as you said, the effectiveness of it and word of mouth, and and the change is made. Yeah.
And the other thing is, Maine, since 2022, 64% of their electricity is generated by renewable sources. So this is a complete win-win. You've got a heating unit which is not using fossil fuel. It's being powered by electricity that is not being produced by burning fossil fuels. And so your carbon emissions are going down. You have a cleaner atmosphere around your home, your suburb, your town. I mean, it's a total win-win.
I want to quickly touch on in our last few minutes, last couple of minutes with Belinda Waymouth. I want to touch on these ground aquifers that are in decline in the West, and now there are counties, municipalities, and states that are trying to protect those aquifers, and they've gotten some help now, it seems.
Yeah. This is really huge. 90% of the US's drinking water comes from groundwater supplies, and we've talked about aquifers before. They're so important, but those aquifers take thousands of years to be replenished, and we just are pumping that water out at crazy rates. The state that has the biggest groundwater depletion is Idaho. These will be images. I sent ones that to show sort of where we're at with this dropping water table. So Idaho grows tons of alfalfa to feed the biggest cattle populations in the country, and what's happened is Idaho, Montana, and Nevada, their state courts have finally said, okay, state authorities, you can control this groundwater depletion. We're not just going to let, farmers and, whoever wants to, deplete groundwater, at their whim. I mean, in Nevada, they have these huge developments of houses, which they've actually said no to, because they said, you're going to suck up so much water. And then what farms are doing is sucking up so much water is that nearby, towns and cities, don't have drinking water supplies. California is now, we put limits in place in California for the 5 most depleted water basins. They're all in the Central Valley, where, of course, it's a huge food basket. We, grow, or what they call it, bread basket. We grow all this food for the whole of the US. So local authorities sort of, they didn't do their job, and they didn't monitor groundwater depletion. And so now the state is stepping in, and they're going to have these hearings about, especially in these most depleted basins. And I don't know if you can put it up, Albert, the 2 pictures of the San Joaquin Valley. So this shows you 4.8 feet of subsidence since 1988. And I also sent another link that shows from 1965, I think about 20 feet of subsidence. So basically you have this subsidence, which is dangerous. You have this depletion of groundwater, which people need. And it's this really precious, ancient water supply. Yeah, you've got the crazy,
So, yeah.
8.6
So, okay, no. So what are we seeing there? So that in 1965, that's where the
the Earth was. That's where we were at in 65. That's how much the actual land has subsided down.
and it's subsided because you're saying those. Go ahead. Yeah.
We've sucked out so much groundwater.
Right. Okay.
So you suck that out, and then the Earth sinks down. Now the really great thing also about groundwater is Biden's White House is also looking at this research and going, wow. How much time is there? How can we help? What can we do? We see this as a problem. We want to be involved. So we're going to have these states that are going to, that are now really monitoring it and giving states more rights to go after, people who just, keep sucking out the groundwater, and you can monitor it and say, no. And you've got the federal government who are going to step in and help as well, because this is a big deal. And the crazy thing about the US, and I've talked about this before, is we have all these people leaving water abundant eastern states, migrating west to live in water scarce states. It sort of doesn't make sense. I get people come, they want better weather and all those things, but you'd be better off staying, if you want nice water to drink.
Well, I mean, it's definitely there's a crisis. There's no question about it. I mean, it's the real thing. Yeah. So I'm glad we got to some stuff today. We got the vanishing ice. We got the use of the heat pumps, and we've got the groundwater. We'll table things for next Wednesday. And you can find Belinda Waymouth across social media, Belinda Waymouth, Waymouth. And she does say glacier in the more refined way in which New Zealanders say things. It's glacier.
Yeah, glacier. We call it the glacier.
That's right. It's the right way to say it. Right. So, Belinda, we love you, and thank you for all the ways you put up with us, and we look forward to next week as well. Thanks so much.
Too.
Belinda Waymouth, that's It's the Planet Stupid for today.
Bye-bye.
More
It's the Planet Stupid. No. It's the Planet Stupid.
next time, only on The Mark Thompson Show.
Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.